You say you want to heal, but you won't. Not until you understand what your father became in your mind. This isn't a comfortable video, but it is a necessary one. If you've ever felt like a grown adult, still waiting for a man to show up and say, "I see you, I'm proud of you, you've done enough," then this is for you. And no, it's not just about your biological father. It's about the absence, the silence, the man you needed but never met because he lived outside your house or inside your house or inside your chest, but he never came. And that absence became architecture, a blueprint your nervous system built your life around. A ghost that shaped how you walk into rooms, how you pursue achievement, how you treat love. You thought he was gone, but he's everywhere. You need to hear this. Your father lives inside your ambition and inside the part of you that refuses to rest because you're not trying to win anymore. You're trying to be enough. And until you face what your mind did with your father, you will never heal. Carl Jung wrote that every human being carries an inner father, an archetype, a pattern, not the man himself, but the role he plays in the development of your identity. And when that role is distorted, neglected, feared, or worshipped, you don't grow. You compensate. A missing father doesn't create emptiness. He creates overdrive. You don't collapse, you sprint. You build your worth with sweat. You chase goals with blood, and you call it drive. But it's grief. The grief of never hearing the one voice that could have slowed your panic, the one sentence that would have rewired your whole nervous system. You're enough. You're already enough. But you didn't get that. So now every room becomes a test. Every success is hollow. Every failure is fatal. Because you're not just trying to survive, you're trying to earn what should have been freely given. Maybe your father was there, but emotionally absent. Maybe he was critical. Maybe he was afraid of you. Maybe he needed you to be smaller so he could feel strong. Or maybe he was just broken too. Here's the truth you haven't let land yet. A wounded father can wound without lifting a finger. He can fracture you just by being unreachable. He can teach you silence is strength, that stillness is weakness, that softness is shameful, that you must earn his love or die trying. You call it discipline, you call it toughness, you call it manhood, but it's a trauma ritual. And you're still performing it decades later. You became what he needed, not what you were. You became the achiever, the quiet one, the strong one, the invisible one, the I'll figure it out myself one, because every version of you was a letter mailed to his absence. Do you see me now? Do I matter yet? And even if he was never going to answer, you kept writing. Because stopping meant admitting something worse, that maybe he was never going to love you in the way you needed. And here's the paradox. You may have hated him, but your nervous system still longs for his approval, still tries to become the version of you that he might finally accept. That's why you sabotage relationships. That's why you grind yourself into exhaustion, because somewhere deep inside you, you believe pain is the path to worth. You think the wound is your fault, so you keep trying to fix it by becoming perfect. But perfection will not save you, because it was never about your performance. It was about his capacity. Now listen closely. This is not about blame. It's about understanding. Your father may have done his best, but his best was a trauma echo. It was a survival pattern passed down like a curse, from fathers who beat, to fathers who abandoned, to fathers who disappeared inside themselves. You inherited his fear, his silence, his inability to rest, and now you call it ambition. You inherited his shame, his disconnection. You can't meditate this away. You can't biohack it. You can't manifest around it. You have to face it, feel it, and name it. My father was not what I needed, and that hurt shaped me. You don't need to hate him, but you do need to separate from the story you created to survive him, because that story is still writing your life, and it doesn't lead to healing. It leads to burnout, to numbness, to pretending you're okay while quietly wondering why no achievement ever makes the ache go away. You think you want success, but what you really want is approval. Would you be proud of me now? And every silence afterward is a reminder he's still not coming. You've stopped running for a minute, and in that stillness, something inside you shifted. He wasn't just a man, he was your first mirror. And when that mirror was cracked, you learned to see yourself through distortion. You weren't just rejected, you were trained to believe that you caused it. That's the trick of the father wound. It doesn't always scream, it whispers. You must not be lovable or he would have stayed. So you took the weight, carried what he couldn't, blamed yourself for what he never gave. And you've been overcompensating ever since. You didn't heal, you performed. And performance is a poor substitute for being loved. Carl Jung called this the father complex, a psychic imprint left by your father or his absence that unconsciously shapes your behavior, values, and beliefs. This is not about memory, it's about programming. Your father may be gone, but the version of him you built as a child, he still lives inside you. He still judges, he still withholds, he still demands. And no matter how much success you chase, he never says that's enough, because he's not real. He's a shadow, a projection, a wound wearing your father's face. And here's the terrifying part. You still serve him, even if you think you've moved on, even if he's dead, even if you say you hate him, your nervous system still worships his absence. You date people who treat you like he did. You reject peace because it feels unfamiliar. You ignore rest because it feels like weakness. You push people away before they get too close, just like he did. You say you're independent, but what you are is trained. Trained to need nothing. Trained to prove everything. Trained to believe that love must be earned and closeness must be feared. And that training wasn't accidental. It was survival. Understand this. If your father was emotionally unavailable, then safety became distance. Closeness felt dangerous. And now, you're still repeating the same formula. You try to control everything. You try to fix everyone. You try to stay one step ahead of pain, but that's not adulthood. That's a child still trying to earn the right to exist. And until you see that, your healing will be cosmetic, surface level, performative. This goes deeper. The father complex doesn't just affect your sense of worth. It affects your ability to trust reality. If the man who was supposed to protect you failed to show up or hurt you or just disappeared, then your nervous system doesn't just lose trust in him. It loses trust in the world. You don't just grow up cautious. You grow up prepared for betrayal, prepared for abandonment, prepared for love to come with conditions, prepared for connection to be dangerous. You don't expect life to support you. You expect it to test you, to punish you, to make you prove your value endlessly. And that's the trap. You live like God is your father, distant, cold, watching, but never embracing. You don't believe in grace, you believe in performance. So what do? You grind, you hustle, you chase titles, partners, stages, status. And when you get there, it still feels empty because you weren't chasing success. You were chasing permission, permission to rest, permission to feel, permission to finally say, I am not what he failed to love. But here's the thing. You don't need his permission. You never did. You need your own. You need to become the father your inner child never had. That's where the healing begins, not in confronting him, but in confronting the parts of you still trying to become lovable in his eyes. You will not find peace in his validation. You will not find healing in his regret. You will not find freedom by proving yourself worthy. You will only find it when you stop playing a game he built to survive his own pain. This isn't about excusing him. It's about ending the lineage. You inherited his silence, but you don't have to pass it on. You inherited his distance, but you don't have to make your kids earn your love. You inherited his shame, but you don't have to carry it a step further. You can put it down, not because you're healed, but because you're awake. Jung believed that healing the father complex wasn't about erasing the father. It was about integrating him, seeing him not as a god, but as a man. A flawed, scared, probably broken man whose absence shaped your world. But doesn't have to shape your future. You are not him, but you carry his programming. And healing means rewriting that code. It means feeling the grief of never being held, never being seen, never being told you were enough. And it means doing the one thing your father couldn't, holding yourself, seeing yourself, telling yourself the words that were never spoken. You are already enough. Say it again, out loud, even if it makes you cry, especially if it makes you cry. You've been waiting your whole life for a father who might never arrive, but the part of you still waiting doesn't need him anymore. He needs you. That little boy, that inner child, the one who tried to be perfect, helpful, quiet, impressive, he's still in there, waiting for someone to come back for him. Go get him. He is the key, and you are the one he's been waiting for. There's a moment that happens in healing, a brutal, beautiful moment. It's not the one where you cry or scream or confront him. It's the one where you sit in total silence and admit to yourself, he's not coming. Not in this life, not in the next, not with an apology, not with the words you needed to hear, not with a hug or a hand on your shoulder or that impossible look in his eyes that says, you are everything I never could be. And when you finally accept that, you stop searching, not because you've given up, but because you've turned around and realized it was never about him. It was about the piece of you still stuck in time, still waiting, still begging, still bending. And that piece, he's not weak, he's not broken, he's loyal. Loyal to pain, loyal to hope, loyal to a fantasy that maybe, just maybe one day, Dad would become what you needed. But here's the truth. You needed something that never existed. You didn't lose your father, you lost a dream, and dreams don't bury themselves easily. This is grief, not of death, but of unmet potential, of what could have been, what should have been, what your body still aches for in the quiet hours. That is living grief, and most men carry it in silence, disguised as discipline, hidden behind anger, locked behind phrases like I'm fine, I figured it out, I don't need anyone. But you do. You needed him. You still do. And that need doesn't make you weak, it makes you honest. You were never meant to do this alone, to become a man by trial and error, to stumble through emotional deserts trying to find a father figure in books, movies, mentors. You were meant to be led, to be mirrored, to be held by someone who had faced his own darkness and come out the other side. But he didn't. He couldn't. He passed the torch before it was ever lit. So now it's yours. The fire, the ache, the question, what kind of man do I become without a father to guide me? Jung believed this question is the essence of individuation, the process of becoming whole, and it starts where all myths begin, the death of the king. The king falls and the son is left in the ruins, not just to survive, but to build something better, to become the king he never met. But that's not some motivational quote. It's bloody, it's slow, it's terrifying. It means becoming the man you needed, not just for others, but for the boy inside you who was told to shut up, man up, and keep going. He doesn't need more pressure, he needs presence, he needs your attention, your protection, your approval, and you don't give it to him by performing harder. You give it by listening, by feeling, by saying to that child, you didn't deserve this, and I'm sorry it took me this long to come back for you. This is the turning point. You've spent your life performing for a man who may never say thank you. Now it's time to perform for no one, to drop the armor, to break the contract, to shatter the code that says pain equals worth. You don't have to suffer to matter. You don't have to succeed to be lovable. You don't have to punish yourself to grow. Let that land, because right now some part of you doesn't believe it. Some part of you thinks, but if I stop pushing, won't I fall apart? Yes, and that's good. Because the part that breaks, that's not you, that's the mask. Behind the mask is the man, the one who feels everything, the one who knows what love is supposed to feel like, the one who stopped pretending. He doesn't chase his father, he doesn't copy him, he doesn't worship him, he buries him, not out of hate, but out of clarity. Because not all ancestors deserve altars. Some deserve boundaries, some deserve silence. Some deserve to be remembered not for what they were, but for what you had to become in spite of them. This is the real work, not screaming into the void, not blaming him until your throat goes numb, but choosing day after day to stop letting his failure define your worth. You are not a byproduct of his absence. You are the author of your presence. You don't heal by waiting. You heal by becoming. Becoming the man who shows up, who chooses softness over silence, who chooses presence over performance, who chooses love over legacy. You don't need to inherit his name. You need to rewrite what it means. You're almost there. The old story is burning, and from its ashes, something new can rise. But there's one last thing you have to face. It's the part of you that became addicted to being unloved. That confuses discomfort with home. That sees safety and runs. You don't need another lesson. You need a new nervous system, one that doesn't flinch at peace, one that doesn't mistake chaos for connection. That's what we'll face next. The final route, the final breath, where healing stops being an idea and becomes a body you can finally live in. Somewhere deep inside you, there's a part that still waits. Even now, even after all the growth, even after all the realizations, the journaling, the therapy, the silence, the grief, a part that still wonders, maybe one day he'll see me. Maybe one day he'll change. That one day is a trap because every time you believe it, you give away your power. You step out of your life and wait for his permission. You stand at the gates of your own healing and ask for a key that only you can make. This is the lie that must die, that your healing requires his transformation. It doesn't. It never did. You have mourned a man who never existed. You have bled for an apology that was never yours to earn. You have shaped your soul around silence, trained your smile to hide disappointment, and worn your strength like a coffin. But today, that ends. Not with revenge, not with confrontation, but with the words that burn and liberate at the same time. I release you. Not because he deserves it, but because you do. You release the fantasy, the chase, the tightrope of almost enough. You release the script where you keep playing the son, begging for approval, and start writing the one where you become the man who approves of himself. This is what Carl Jung meant when he spoke of individuation, the integration of shadow, the transformation of pain into presence, the path not back to your father, but through him. He is no longer the ceiling, he is the floor. You do not need to reach him, you only need to stand on what he left behind and rise. So, what does that look like? What does life look like without the father wound shaping your every step? It looks like this. You don't need someone to validate your emotions anymore. You allow yourself to feel them. You don't chase love that treats you like a stranger. You walk away. You don't punish yourself when things go well. You trust joy. You stop trying to earn rest. You just rest. You look in the mirror and stop seeing a boy waiting to be chosen. You see a man who already is. And one day, maybe today, you sit with your own child or the child inside you and you say the words your father never could. I see you. I believe you. You don't have to earn anything. You already are everything I needed. That's how the pattern ends. Not through perfection, but through presence. Not by becoming a better version of him, but by becoming a version of you that was never allowed to exist while you were still worshiping him. So let's return to the boy you were, the one who stood in doorways waiting for a nod, the one who performed for glances that never came, the one who tried to carry the emotional weight of a grown man. Tell him, you don't need to carry this anymore. He was hurting, he was lost, and none of that was your fault. You are not the cleanup crew for someone else's collapse. You are not the casualty of someone else's cowardice. You are the continuation of what survived. And you are allowed to live differently. Maybe he never changed, maybe he never tried, maybe he died before he could ever say it, or maybe he's still alive, still silent, still watching from a distance. Doesn't matter anymore, because you're not living for the version of you he never saw. You're living for the version of you that you finally do. The one who knows how to rest, how to receive, how to forgive without forgetting, how to set fire to old stories and write new ones in the ashes. You are the end of the pattern. And if no one told you this before, I'm proud of you. Not because you proved something, but because you felt something and you didn't look away. That's what strength really is. Pause the video. Place your hand on your heart. Say it out loud. I am the end of the pattern. Say it again. Say it until it echoes in the places he never reached. You're not waiting anymore. You're not shrinking. You're not bargaining. You're becoming fully, finally, freely. If this spoke to something deep inside you, I want you to do one thing. Comment below, I am the end of the pattern. Not for likes, not for attention, but because you've already spent your whole life quiet. This time, say it out loud. For you, for the boy you were, for the man you're becoming. You were never just his child. You are your own creator now. Welcome home.